What's going on, everybody? We're back with another video. This video marks the 15th video in the series. That means that we are halfway through. It's been an absolute grind, but it has also been an absolute blast doing this. I've had a ton of fun. I hope y'all are enjoying the videos, and I hope that you're able to gain a little bit of basketball knowledge, a little bit of basketball insight. And yeah, we got the Memphis Grizzlies today. And without further ado, let's get started. This team starts with Ja Morant. He's going to be the focal point of this team for years to come. The offense is going to run through him. He averaged 19 points, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds last year. Had himself an incredible year. Didn't make the All-Star game, but he's working his way up to those type of numbers. He's really improved since he came into the league, and not just in a numbers sense, but also in a leadership sense. His confidence continues to grow. He's always had a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to continue just being a dog for this Memphis team. The one thing I'd like to see Ja Morant improve on here, his shot IQ. We've seen him pull off some nasty plays. We've seen him almost pull off some nasty plays, but you don't get points for almost in the NBA. Almost 58% of his 2-point shots last season came with the defender within 4 feet of him. And when you look at the NBA stat books and everything, within 4 feet is considered tight defense. 0 to 2 feet is considered very tight defense. That's not the kind of shots that you want your star player taking. And for reference, Ja Morant's almost 58% of his 2-point shots being in that range. For comparison, De'Aaron Fox, which is a player I feel has a similar build, a similar play style. They're both super quick, super athletic guys. Fox has a little bit better of a jumper than Morant does, and that shows in the way he plays a little bit, but that was the closest comparison I could find. De'Aaron Fox, in his second season, he shot 50% with the same factors considered as far as the tight and very tight defense and it just being the 2-point shots. So as far as that goes, Ja played his second season last year. De'Aaron Fox in his second season put up those numbers. 8% difference in the contested shots. So that's something that I really like to see Ja Morant get down as far as that number goes. And for reference as well, De'Aaron Fox last season was down to just under 48% of those type of shots last year. So if Ja can just get that down, work on that shot IQ, start passing off the ball more, maybe develop a better jump shot so he can take jumpers instead of driving to the basket and trying to force up these wild layups and dunks. We saw him have probably the most popular clip ever of a missed shot with him trying to dunk over Kevin Love. That would have been cool if it went down, but it's not something that went down, and I just feel like that's bad shot IQ as far as trying to pull that off in an NBA game. Like I said, it would have been super cool if it went down, but it didn't, and you don't get points for almost. So just seeing Ja Morant be a little more selective with the shots and where he's taking these shots from, and considering the defense and where it's at there. The next player you got to talk about with this team is Jaren Jackson Jr. He's the second option on this team. He's a great scorer and shooter, not just for a big man, but in general, just in a general sense. He's also a good shot blocker. Memphis really missed having him last year. He missed most of the season with a torn meniscus from the bubble. But he did come back near the end of the season, played about 11 games, and was just really working on getting that feel back in there, and getting warmed back up to the NBA level. But something that Memphis really missed last year was having Jaren Jackson Jr. on the floor. He's a good pick and roll player, pick and pop player with Ja Morant. The way that they can play together is really well, because Triple J can just fade out to that 3-point line off a pick while Ja sprints to the basket with his speed and athleticism. And then Ja can either pass that ball out or he can go up for his layup or dunk or whatever he goes to attempt. But Jaren Jackson Jr. is a very solid second option for this team. The next guy I want to talk about is Dillon Brooks. This is a guy I've loved watching since he was in college. I said that in the Indiana video about Chris Duarte. So maybe I just have a thing for Oregon wing players. I don't know. But Dillon Brooks is someone I've really enjoyed watching since he was in college, since the first time I watched him. He's got a knack for knocking down big shots, and he's a great defender, and he's carried that into the NBA. But he's a viable scoring option on this team. He was averaging 17 a game last season, 16 a game the season before that. That was up from 9 points per game in his second year. So he just continues to get a little bit better as far as his scoring goes. His defense is good, something that is always really necessary to play in Memphis. Ever since they've had that Mike Conley, Zach Randolph, Marc Gasol type team, they've really just been known for their tough defense, their grit and grind, and that's something that Dillon Brooks brings. He keeps that culture alive there, and he's just one of those guys. He's above average defense as far as wings go, and then he's also able to shoot the ball and get the ball in the basket. So that's something you really like to see, and he should definitely be the starting shooting guard on this team going forward, and that should stay that way until his contract's up with this team, and then who knows what happens, but they've got a couple years before they got to think about that. So we'll see. The trade for Steven Adams this past offseason makes me think that Memphis plans on starting him in the starting lineup next to Jaren Jackson Jr., which I feel like is a really good fit as far as fits go, because like I was saying, Jaren Jackson Jr. can fade out to that three-point line. He can hit the three-pointer. He can stretch the floor. He's not the greatest rebounder in the world. That's something I'd like to see him improve on, especially as a 6'11 player. Really like to see him work on that rebounding, but you pair him next to Steven Adams, who's not a guy that really shoots the ball, but Steven Adams is a massive body, 6'11", 245. He's a big frame. You stick him down there in the post. May have been a little bit off on that weight, so don't quote me on that one. But anyway, still a big dude, massive frame. He's going to get your boards. He's going to be a nuisance in the paint as far as trying to stop him from scoring, and as far as trying to score on him. He's a disruptor down there, but he's not really going to stretch too far from the post. He'll be a good guy to come set screens on players trying to guard Ja Morant as well, because like I said, he's got that huge frame. He's knocked some dudes over with his screens. He's just a strong human being. So definitely see Steven Adams plugging right into that starting lineup and playing alongside Jaren Jackson, and I see that being a great front court pairing there. Kyle Anderson should round out the starting lineup here, at least to start the season. He's a solid veteran. He gets the job done despite the slow-mo nickname and just the way he plays. If you watch him on the court, he's a very slow-moving player. There's a huge viral clip that went out last season or year before where him and Ja Morant were on the fast break together. Kyle Anderson had the ball, and Ja Morant, you could tell, is just having to slow up so much because Anderson's so slow and Morant's so fast. So that's really funny to see. If you don't know that clip, definitely go watch it. It's very funny, and it's only like 5 seconds long. But Kyle Anderson's a slow player, but he gets the job done. He had career highs in scoring and an assist last season. So that'll definitely help his case as far as being in that starting lineup and staying in that starting lineup as long as he continues to develop on that. And then this team's just got a super deep bench as far as I feel like. They don't have any absolute studs coming off the bench. They don't have that guy like a Kobe White with the Bulls where you have a 15 to 20 point per game scorer coming off the bench. But they've got Desmond Bane, they've got DeAnthony Melton, they got Brandon Clark, they got Xavier Tillman, they got Jarrett Culver, they got the rookie Zaire Williams coming in. So this team they have depth at every position. That's just a young bench unit. That's not even naming some of the vets like a Tyus Jones that's sitting on the bench as well. But this team is they're so deep as far as youth goes, and as far as being balanced at every position. They've definitely got it going for them. Like I said, no absolute studs coming off the bench, but they definitely have something there. And Jarrett Culver comes in this offseason off the trade. They traded away Patrick Beverley after getting him from LA, and Jarrett Culver comes in, and I just really hope to see this kid really just be able to rejuvenate his career. He just hasn't looked like he's got it in the NBA. He was a 6th overall pick, so you really expected him to do a lot. But being in Minnesota, playing with the Timberwolves, there was just so much inconsistency as far as coaching and their front office and everything. And chemistry never seemed to be a thing that existed there. So hopefully this culture change and this change of scenery for Jarrett Culver helps him get his career going. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes, because he's one of those guys that can definitely be an X factor for somebody. He can go in there and he could potentially be a 10-point per game scorer off the bench. He was a good defender in college, so he should be able to keep that in the NBA. Haven't gotten to watch too much of him as far as his NBA play, just because he was in Minnesota, not a very big market as far as nationally televised games and everything. But he's a guy that definitely needs to get his career together, and this is a good reset for him, I should say, not start. Good reset for him. So we'll see what he does here. Don't be surprised to see some different lineups from this team, because like I said, they've got depth, and I don't feel like Kyle Anderson and Steven Adams are going to be guys that are permanently locked into the starting lineup. They could see Jaren Jackson Jr. potentially switch back over to that center position, and they could bring in Brandon Clark or Xavier Tillman to start at power forward. They could just pull Kyle Anderson out of there and start a Zaire Williams if he gets going off to a hot start, or if Jarrett Culver gets things together, they could pull Anderson for him. You could slide Dillon Brooks to the 3, take Anderson out of that lineup, and have a DeAnthony Melton or Desmond Bain starting. So there's a lot of options with this team. I do feel pretty confident saying that Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Brooks, Steven Adams, and Kyle Anderson are going to be the starters to start the season. But again, don't be surprised to see a bunch of different lineups with this team. For my season predictions for them, I got this team going somewhere around 40 to 42 wins, so around a 500 record. That'll be a slight improvement from last year where they had 38 wins. Definitely think that's very feasible for this team. That's something they can easily do, especially if Jaren Jackson Jr. is coming back at full health. But with that said, I got them finishing around that 500 record. I got them going into the play-in tournament and then getting eliminated there. So not making the actual playoffs, but making the play-in tournament. So that's all I got for the Memphis Grizzlies. Again, we are now halfway through the series. Hope y'all have been enjoying it. Make sure you leave a like, leave a comment, leave your thoughts on this team, on this roster, or even just on my breakdown and my opinions. If you want to criticize that or agree with it or whatever you want to do. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Appreciate y'all watching. Peace out.